Yeah. Hi, Rhonda.
Long time no see.
I know. So you got back from DC last night. I mean, overall, you went there with the purpose of going to the State of the Union, but also got to sit in on this meeting. How was it?
Yes. So overall, the whole trip was just amazing. I mean, it's Washington, DC for crying out loud.
Was that your first time there?
No. I was in the Army stationed a few hours away, and then we went in December for the Newtown Action Alliance National Vigil for Gun Violence. So, I mean, it's always nice to go because I love DC, but you have to think about the root cause of why I was there was that, there was a murder, there's a mass shooting at Santa Fe High, and my kid was involved, so, yeah.
And State of the Union, you had a pretty good view, right? That's like kind of the purpose of you going there. What did you think of what some of Trump said in there?
So I was actually really lucky. The camera crew was like right here. And so I had a TV that was just here in front of me, and they could zoom in and I could see everybody's reaction. So that was really good. There were some high points, like he talked about infrastructure and fixing that, bringing down the cost of prescription drugs. He gave a shout out to all the newly elected congresswomen. So yeah, there was some high points. It was okay, yeah.
And what about his take on gun reform? Or
that wasn't mentioned at all. He had brought in one of the SWAT team members that intervened in the Tree of Life synagogue shooting, and a gentleman that had survived a concentration camp and Tree of Life, and it was his birthday that night. So we all had a nice moment where we all sang that gentleman happy birthday. But he didn't bring up that attack as a gun violence issue. He brought it up as anti-Semitism. So the word gun reform wasn't even mentioned, or other mass shootings, really.
But the following day, you had a chance to sit in on this meeting, which is like the first meeting they've had in like 8 years.
Yeah.
And how was that?
It was good. There was, sorry.
Okay.
There was both sides of the issue. There was a Parkland survivor, chief of police from Houston. They had a law professor that specialized in the Second Amendment. They had a young woman that had been assaulted as a college student, but didn't have the means to protect herself in that incident. So yeah, it was kind of across the board.
And what did you think of it? I mean, was it productive, good? Did you like the points? What do you think of the bill?
What I think of the bill is it's a good step forward, because I can tell you that a lot of the mass shootings here that have occurred recently, those people didn't need to have a gun in the first place. Yes, there are responsible owners, but especially in the Santa Fe case, they probably didn't need to have one in their house. And so, yeah, there was some good points. Sheila Jackson Lee spoke about gun violence. There were several Texas representatives there. And then we kind of hit a low point when the representative from Florida started saying that a wall initiative would have prevented shootings. And it got a little heated between him and a couple of the Parkland parents.
And coming from your perspective, and perhaps you and some of the Parkland people can see more eye to eye on here. I mean, how do you think? Do you think people are still listening to what the survivors, the parents, and the people that deal with the aftermath of this so directly? Do you think that they're really listening to what you're saying and your efforts to push some sort of change to protect other kids or to stop stuff like this from happening again? Because although it happened, the anniversary is coming up.
Yeah, 8 or 9 months, yeah. And a year next week for Parkland.
Exactly. So do you feel like they're listening enough? I mean, in 8 years, there's certainly been a lot of shootings. In the last year, there's been a lot of mass shootings. But in the last 8 years, we could name every high-profile one that's happened.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think that?
Well, clearly somebody is listening, because there was a handful of gun violence families at State of the Union, from Florida and obviously myself. So clearly someone up in the chain of command is paying attention to this. You know, as far as Houston area, I know in certain groups people are still listening. Moms Demand Action, we're getting ready to go to Austin next week and storm at the Texas legislature. So yeah, I think certain people, certain groups are still listening. You know, I've said it several times. I just don't want another family to have to go through this, because it's awful. Mm-hmm. It's terrible.
And you were one of the only local families here from Santa Fe that went up there. Mm-hmm. And you've been also one of the most vocal people arguing about gun reform, mm-hmm. Background checks,
safe storage, and red flag laws, all of which would have helped with the Santa Fe shooting, and Parkland as well.
Do you feel like, you know, your push to get this sort of change is working better maybe on a national scale, or seeing some of these other people helping you with it, or do you see struggles here locally?
For me, I still see struggles locally. I still, you know, and I have to filter it out. I still got some negative feedback. But I think if we go outside of Galveston area and Houston and more over in little pockets of Texas, we are getting, you know, our voices heard. Like Veronica Escobar from El Paso was on that committee yesterday. So, I mean, clearly our message is getting somewhere. And, you know, again, I'm going to say it again, to quote David Hogg, we don't have a problem with guns, but we have a problem when the bullets go into people's bodies. That's what it comes down to. And, you know, people have to realize that if a shooter comes in and opens fire, he's not going to check your voter registration status to see what party you're on. He'll just go for it, or she will just go for it, whatever. But, you know, it doesn't matter when you come down to it. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you are on. You know, a bullet's going to kill you one way or the other.
And is this something that you're going to continue to keep getting involved with and being active in this cause past the 1 year, 2 year, 5 year anniversary?
Oh, is the Pope Catholic? I mean, yeah, I don't have a choice. You know, I've said it so many times. I was in high school when Columbine happened. That was 20 years ago. And I actually met a survivor from the Columbine High School yesterday when we were in House Resolution, when we were in the Senate hearing. You know, you just have this moment with these people that you just instantly kind of click. And just to think that in 20 years we haven't figured this out, we haven't come up with one little solution, you know?